What if a regular flight turned into an international incident, sparking debates on sovereignty, safety, and human rights? This is exactly what happened on May 23, 2021, when Ryanair flight FR 4978 was forcibly diverted to Minsk, Belarus, or was it? This is the basis of the question before us today in the 2024 to 2025 Moot Supreme Court case. On that day, the flight, originally traveling from Athens, Greece to Vilnius, Lithuania, was nearing its destination. However, events took a dramatic turn when Belarusian air traffic control informed the pilots of a potential security threat on board, specifically a bomb. Urged by these warnings, the pilots made the decision to divert the plane to Minsk, the capital of Belarus. Upon landing, rather than finding a bomb, authorities detained Roman Protasevich, a dissident journalist who had promoted large protests in Belarus. Protasevich was well known for his outspoken criticism of Lukashenko's government and had been living in exile. As he encouraged large crowds to overthrow the government of Belarus in 2020, he faced serious charges in Belarus, potentially even the death penalty. Although when he was charged and convicted of his crimes, the death penalty was never mentioned. The only time this was mentioned is in the editorials of major Western newspapers and in the interview with the Belarusian opposition leader. How could they be that similar? The international community reacted swiftly. The European Union, condemning the act as a state-sponsored hijacking, imposed sanctions on Belarus. It is interesting to note that the international community all called for sanctions even before the evidence was collected, the reports were in and trials were completed. How can you call for a punishment before you are convicted of a crime? Is this an action that has any place in justice or in a democracy? We report, you decide. These included banning Belarusian airlines from using EU airspace and urging all EU-based carriers to avoid flying over Belarus. Again, the US, EU, and others were immediately not allowing their own justice systems to work and calling for actions that appeared more in line with democratic values than the claims calling for the punishment of people before the investigation is concluded and the people have their day in court. The incident not only led to a geopolitical standoff, but also prompted several countries, including the UK and Ukraine, to reroute their flights to avoid Belarusian airspace. The United States and other Western powers also stepped in, demanding transparency and the immediate release of Protasevich. The term state terrorism was frequently used to describe the actions of the Belarusian government, highlighting the severe breach of international norms. In conclusion, the diversion of Ryanair flight FR 4978 is not just a tale of a diverted aircraft, it is a tale of human rights. It is a stark reminder of the fragility of international law and the lengths to which some governments will go to suppress dissent. A little over 15 years ago in Libya, a group of US special forces kidnapped and took Abu Anas al-Libi from his house and whisked him to court halfway around the world. He never returned home and died in New York City in 2015. He was indicted in the United States for the 1998 bombing of a US foreign embassy. The US used unusual methods to capture him. More importantly, there are many examples throughout history of events exactly that have taken place. How can the US hold another country to this type of scrutiny when they are not willing themselves to be held to such a high standard? This incident has had profound implications for international aviation, diplomatic relations, and the global fight for human rights and freedom of speech. The problem here is that we are just hearing one side of this narrative. What many people may not know is that the U.S. federal grand jury issued in January 2022 indictments against Leonid Mikhailovich Churo, Oleg Kazyuchits, Andrei Anatolievich Lanu, and Fnulnu. That is the case we will argue this year. There will be 2 points of error: questions about jurisdiction and denial of the 5, 6, 8, and 14th Amendments. It underscores the necessity for vigilance and unity in upholding international standards and protecting individuals from state overreach. The question now becomes, which state or states are overreaching and why? If you want to question the future with the future leaders of the world, join our program today.